Greetings, gentlemen and ladies, old school game snob here. In today's video I'm going to show you how to make jiggly physics. In particular, we're going to be making some jiggly boobs here today. And by the way, I'm not going to bother clothing my model because, well, that's not what I'm going to bother doing. So if you don't like to see boobs, you might want to check out a different video. This one's going to have some 3D model exposure. So here we go, let's kick things off. Let me show you first what we're going to be making here. I am using a DAZ 3D model, but you could do this with any model that has basically what you need are a couple of bones for the breasts. Now in the DAZ model, these are them, the left pectoral and the right pectoral here. Basically what we need is these two little prongs, this little two-prong fork coming off of somewhere from the spine. If you have that, that means that there is going to be a rooted point where the breasts can basically bounce and jiggle and hold off, basically hang off of, right? That's the whole thing. So here, let me show you really quick here what I'm talking about and why you need that. So if we take a look and we simulate, now I am in the physics editor of my Unreal Engine. I've opened up my physics asset. I'm actually just going to hide the bones here so I can see what the heck's going on. Let me show you really quickly what we're going to accomplish here first, and then I'll show you what we need, and then we'll just jump right into it. Let's see, here are we. Okay, so I'm going to simulate the left pectoral and the right pectoral, which are my jiggly boob physics, right? Whoops, there we go. So I have selected those two things so that basically only those things simulate. And you simulate basically like this. You can simulate the entire mesh, right? And you basically got your, whoops, actually that's right, I've got that selected over there. You can simulate your entire mesh and the whole thing will fall over. Well, does it? I don't know. Maybe I've got something selected here. What have I got selected? There we go. So that's basically the whole physics being simulated, kind of ragdoll physics, right? So what we're going to be doing for this is only simulating the pectorals. That's the bone that I'm using, and those are the boobed physics. I'm going to simulate those, and as you can see, they jiggle, they move around. They're basically bouncy physics. And the neat thing about this is that you can go ahead and do something like simulate. You can set the physics type to simulated, and that means if you go ahead and you drag your mesh into your game, your skeletal mesh into your game, the default state of those physics is going to be enabled. So you can see that this is just the skeletal mesh, but the jiggly physics are enabled, right, just by default. That's not a blueprinted model, that's nothing special done, that is just the skeletal mesh on its own, but it has the jiggly physics, or it basically has any physics enabled. In this case, it's, you know, the jiggly boob physics. So this would apply to any sort of thing you want to make jiggle, you know, jello, basketballs, whatever the case may be. But yeah, like I say, what you need is to make sure your model has those two bones. If it doesn't, what's going to happen when you simulate physics is that the whole chain, right, see the legs moving around like that? The whole chain of bones is going to simulate. Now I think there might be a way to do this for like the bum, which I'm working on right now. I'm actually working on adding some bum bones for the bum to kind of jiggle as well. But the point is, yeah, if you've got these on your model, you're good to go. All right, so let's jump into it. Now you see what we're doing. Now you see basically what you need. Let me actually turn off. You know what? I like the bone names on there. It makes things easier to see. So go ahead and open up your physics asset. That you know, you've probably got a physics asset with your model. If you don't, you can probably create a physics asset off your skeletal mesh just like that, if you don't happen to have one already. But most characters have a physics asset, so I'm just going to go ahead and open up my physics asset. In this case, I've renamed my physics asset to Jiggly Physics. I've left my source asset there, and then you can actually go and change which asset you want to use on your skeleton if you want to do it that way. So you can just go ahead into your skeleton and your skeletal mesh rather, and you can choose which physics body asset you want to use. So I've got my Jiggly Physics in there. But that'll be set up by default if you don't, you know, do a custom file, rename, whatever, etc., etc. Doesn't really matter either way. So here's what we're going to do. And you know what? Let's actually do this on a character which doesn't have it done already. I'm going to go through this actually with you guys now that you can see my project. Let's take my initial physics asset here. Let's create a duplicate. And we'll call this one just tutorial. That's fine for now. I'm going to call this my tutorial asset. I am going to actually remove what I've done here so that we can go through it together. You guys can see what's going on. Just going to quickly remove all that. So from the left here, you can filter what you can see, all bones, constraints, and basically shapes, primitives, where is it? Bodies, constraints, and bones are what we're going to be looking at. But I'm basically just going to take out my constraints really quick here so that I can put them right back in. What was it? I think it was the pectoral. Sorry for the delay. I don't like video editing, but here we go. There we go. Where is it? No? Ah, that's why bone names are so good. Oh, show. Anyway, so up here, by the way, in case you don't know, you can show bone names. You can also set things like, you can set things like your shape, transparency, translucency. So for example, say you want to grab, say you want to see what's going on with your bodies a little bit better. You can, adjust the opacity there to your liking. You can show and hide whatever you need. So yeah, I'm just quickly gonna delete my constraints. Let me actually delete bodies, constraints. Oh, where is it? Chest upper, chest lower, abdomen. Why don't I see it? I don't know. Oh, you know what? It got deleted when I deleted my shape. That's what happened. Okay, so I think we're good to go here. Okay, so let's kick things off. Right now, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find basically the breastbone. On mine, it's left and right pectoral. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the left pectoral here. And what I'm going to do is actually going to enable show all bones. I'm going to scroll down until I find that left pectoral. I can actually just search a little bit like this, pectoral, left pectoral. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the left pectoral bone and I'm going to add a shape, and that shape is going to be a sphere. And then this sphere can just sort of be manually repositioned and reshaped and resized and stuff. Basically, we're going to get this to sort of cover up the boob region. That's what we're going to do. You might want to use your top-down camera view, etc. You're just kind of jimmying this into shape. It doesn't exactly have to be perfect, but you kind of want to make sure to cover up the boob area. That's what we're doing here today. Let's see, scale that down. Just going to use my top view a bit and put that into place. There we go. Now grab it from the front. From the front view. See that the height and stuff is pretty good on that. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. That should be pretty good. That should cover up most of the area. All right, so now I've got my left boob boundary shape there, and I'm actually going to turn on my bodies again. So here I've got my bodies and my bones. So there's my bones, there's my bodies. That's the shape I just put in. You can tell by the little icons there. So what I'm going to actually do here is simulate just the selected, right? And you can see what happens is, well, there's no restraints on this at the moment. So that boob, that is one saggy baggy boob that just falls all the way to the floor. So we are going to, oh, and by the way, you can hotkey this, and I do this a lot. You're going to probably want to test this quite a bit. Alt-Enter, Alt-Shift-Enter to simulate. This is a nice, quick, easy way to do it. So what we're going to need to do here on this body, right? So you got your body selected here, the boob body, that's this one right here. Go ahead, right click, and we're going to add not a collision, we're going to add a constraint. Actually, I guess we add it in this way. So we're going to actually, here's the thing. So we actually need to decide what we're constraining this to. Actually, I'm sorry about that. We don't need to click that and highlight it. We actually need to decide what we're constraining this to, and we're going to want to constrain this to the spine. Now in my case, I'm thinking the chest lower looks pretty good. That's what I tried it with before, this chest lower bone. Which one is it? Right here. The chest lower bone is what I want to constrain this to, so that basically it has an attachment point, right? So it, it doesn't, yeah, I'm not exactly sure how constraints work, to be perfectly honest, but this keeps it, this gives it its starting center point and what we're kind of bouncing against or pulling against or whatever the case, what we're physicsing against. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add a constraint to my chest lower, right? And now I'm just going to actually position that constraint roughly into place. something like that. Just gonna position that kind of like we positioned the, you know what actually would be an easy way to do this? I could probably grab the left pectoral. I could probably get the location of it. Could I do that? Maybe not. Where is it? I thought I was going to be real clever there, but where is the positional data? I'm not sure. I feel like it should have positional data. Why doesn't it? Not sure. Not sure. Anyway, alright, whatever. I'm just going to put this into place manually. So from the top, I'll just kind of position that roughly in the center of our sphere. Roughly in the center, that should be fine. Let's look at the front. Just kind of get the height of that right. There we go. So we're just kind of getting that into place. So that is our constraint. Let's go back to perspective view. And should be fine. I'm not exactly sure what role the positioning plays in this whole process, but it does play some role. So we're just going to try to get this roughly covering our shape, our circular shape. All right, so now we've got this constraint, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select my constraint, the one which is underneath of my shape, my left pectoral, that's the left boob shape. I'm going to grab the constraint under here and I'm going to put in a few settings. And there are quite a few settings in here that you could play around with, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to lock off the angular limits. That will basically stop the, well, let's see what it'll do. Oops, I didn't simulate the right thing. Yeah, that basically stops all the movement right there, so that simulation doesn't do anything. And what I'm also going to do, reselecting my constraint, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab those linear limits. I'm going to make them all limited. I'm going to limit them to 5. Right, so this basically says on the front, on the X, Y, and Z, this can move as far as 5 units. However far 5 units is, I don't know. You can, again, this is kind of a tweaking thing, right? Whoops, let me simulate again. And as you can see, now the boob doesn't fall all the way to the floor, it falls down 5 unreal units. It could also, move to the side. So if you hold down the control and the right mouse button, and as long as you don't have like something blocking your boob, like something in the way, you should be able to control right click and kind of get that up, down, left, right, forward, back movement, right? So as you can see, there's a constraint to where that boob can move. Using the word boob a lot in this video, but hey, that's what we're doing here today. All right, so let's now that we've kind of got some constraints in there, and again, this is going to be up to your preference. You want very jiggly boobs, you want realistic boobs, whatever you want, or whatever you want to make jiggle, right? This kind of applies to anything that has a bone to hang off of, right? So what we're going to now do is we're going to actually look at the bounce part of this. I'm just going to find where the heck I put that. Bounce is restitution, right? So if you have a value of 1 on restitution, that is basically going to be, as far as I know, like 100% bouncy, right? So let me just simulate that really quick. Oh, what happened? Is that not working? Oh, I'm not simulating. What am I doing? Control Alt Enter. There we go. So as you can see, there's like some crazy bounce going on there. It's kind of bouncing up and down really quickly, and it's basically indefinitely bouncing because there's so much bounciness in that. So let me just show you the settings that I found really quick, and then you guys can tweak around the settings however you like. So I found that a bounce of 0.01 plus a and these angular limits can also be tweaked around with. You could probably tweak these. So X, Y, Z, and then angular might be like twist and rotate. I'm not exactly sure. Swing limits, twist limits, all these things could potentially be played around with. But the one easy way that I've kind of got mine set up is to scroll down until we find a linear motor. We're going to get to our linear motor. And this basically, what the linear motor does is it applies force to return an object to its starting point, right? So this takes into account gravity, which pulls it down. We also have bounce, which we set above to a low value, and this tries to return basically a physics shape to its starting point with a certain amount of strength. So let me first start with 50 strength, which is not going to, I don't think, do too much. Yeah, not too much because it's a pretty weak amount of strength, so you can't really see what's going on there. The value I found works pretty good is 500 in this regard. So this is going to return the shape to its starting point. As you can see, we've got some pretty nice bounce going on, right? So now I can kind of jiggle this around and it's actually got a pretty realistic look already. This one's pretty bouncy, but yeah, like I say, you could tweak this a lot, and there are some settings I haven't played around with yet, so I can't really comment on them, but they are all in your physics constraint, and you can again probably have to look up the details of what is soft constrained. I don't know, restitution, just how bouncy, and then angular limits, and also some of all these other things I haven't played around with, so I can't really comment on them yet. But I know you can get really crazy with how precise you get that jiggliness to be. So, but I think that looks pretty good, right? And so, like I say, in order to enable jiggle by default, you're going to want to select the shape, and you're going to want to make sure that it is physics type simulated. And that way, these will just always jiggle in your model by default. The default is simulated. If you have this set to default, then they won't do anything. They'll just, sit normally as they would. But if you have this set to default, then Unreal Engine knows to simulate that one shape, right? So it's not going to simulate the entire ragdoll, but it'll simulate that one shape. And in this case, we've got it set up to basically bounce and jiggle. So now what you're going to, of course, want to do is clone this over onto the other side. Basically repeat the same thing. Now, I believe there's a way, now I couldn't get this to work for me. There's a way to mirror this. Yeah, but for some reason it isn't working for me. So what I ended up having to do is I ended up having to basically just, I think I went to copy properties. Was it? Yeah, copy selected bodies and constraints. Maybe it was that. I don't remember exactly. Worst case scenario, you can just add another. Maybe the mirror will work for you. It doesn't seem to be working for me, but if it works for you, you should be able to mirror that to the other side. Otherwise, yeah, you can just kind of, do it that way. Paste constraints, nah. 1 bodies and 0 constraints pasted. No, something is not working too well. So basically, yeah, I think I just went ahead and I added another shape in, moved it over into a similar place. What was it? I think maybe just copy paste. Left pectoral, right pectoral. I can't remember how I did this. Constraints, mirrored the copy properties, maybe into the right pectoral, paste. Oh, maybe it was like add. Oh, here's what it was. Here's what I did. I think I did add shape, another pectoral. So I got my right pectoral, and then I think I copied the something. Copied the properties. Copy properties, and I think I would have pasted that. Paste the properties in. Yeah, and that put it into its shape. So at least you can get the shape, the positioning right. And then basically you can go ahead and add another constraint in and copy your properties over. As you saw, there's not really that many to do. But yeah, then once you've kind of got it all set up, like I say, you can drag those skeletal mesh into the game and you will just automatically have those jiggly physics simulated, and that's pretty good to go out of the box. So what I'm working on right now, because this could kind of be applied to the glutes as well, is to get like that jiggly bum physics, or jiggly whatever you want to make, jiggly belly, if you're trying to make a nice Santa Claus or whatever the case may be. But what I'm looking at right now is adding butt bone physics. So I'll do a video on that pretty soon. I'm just learning how to set that up, add some butt bone physics in, because the same thing would apply to the butt as well, to make the butt, the glutes jiggly in the same way as we made the boobs jiggly. But by default, I think most models don't have butt bones. And so what we need to do is we need to get a butt bone kind of hanging upwards, kind of like a hook, so that we have something to hang that jiggly, to hang that shape off of, right? So right now we've got these round shapes hanging off of our little hooks right here, right? Our little left and right pectoral. So those have something to hang off of. But like I said before, if you have an entire chain of bones that you're trying to hang off of, the whole chain simulates when you enable simulate physics, and then you get some funky effects. And I haven't been able to figure out how to get the glutes to simulate bouncy jiggly physics without a butt bone. So right now I'm trying the butt bone. If that works, I'll make a video on that coming at next. Hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. That's it. See you later.